You're not late because you don't respect people's time. You're late because the instrument you measure time with is variable. You yourself. Appointments are fucked. If it's an appointment in the afternoon, the whole day is gone. And if someone is giving you an appointment in 6 weeks that is at 3 p.m., that's fine, right? Until the day before. And we, sweet cheeks, are going to look at why. This is so terrible. And because we're not millennials who know every single thing wrong with them and never do anything about it, the latter third of the video is entirely fixes. How to reframe, how to never make appointments you will not want to keep, and how to set the time right. So remember, this is a science and community channel. We start with the science. We have 2 meta-studies, and the first one is Marx and colleagues. They pulled 55 studies on ADHD time perception. So the method they investigated were people receiving a stimulus, so an image or a noise, and then 4 experiments. The first one, discrimination. Which of the 2 lasts longer? And those were usually below 1 second, so just milliseconds. The second one was estimation. Say how many seconds one stimulus lasted. The third one was production. Press a button for n seconds. And the fourth one was reproduction. Press a button for as long as you think the stimulus lasted. And stimulus again was noise or an image. And the maximum duration of a stimulus was 15 seconds, and they went down all the way to below a second. Results. We are very bad at telling small times apart. Especially under a second, wherever this was measured. We are more variable at estimating things lasting several seconds. Variable means larger numbers plus and minus that make up the average, which is largely the same as with allistic people. So you have a corridor for allistic people, and you have a slightly larger hallway for ADHD people, and the overlap is 74%. The authors say ADHDers have an accelerated internal clock. Internal clock is something that you know, it is a concept that fits reality well, but it has no definitive reasoning behind it. So it's a concept that we can use because it kind of works with how reality is, but we cannot prove an internal clock for real life. So internal clock is like a model that describes what we see when we imagine people perceiving time. And it works so far. And further results in the reproduction tasks, we count slower over short intervals and faster over long intervals. Reproduction was the one where you got shown a tone or image and you had to press a button as long as you think the image was. And when it was a short duration for the stimulus, then we counted slower to when we have to press, and when it was a longer duration of the stimulus, then we counted faster. And the scientists say this is because of delay aversion. And delay aversion is how much you dislike waiting. And this is that ADHDers apparently dislike waiting so much that they tend to go to take action the longer the wait is, even if waiting solves the problem that they're having. Meaning what they also say, the longer the wait is, the more waiting becomes a pressure problem for ADHDers. Community term conclusion, not scientific, maybe even misrepresenting it because it wasn't really in the study. The time perception is different depending on what you perceive that has a time. If we measure one thing, we have one perception for it, and if we measure something else, our time perception likely changes to measure that. So the second meta-analysis, because we have 2, and to make things more complicated. But this one was only an abstract because it is gated by the Journal of Attention Disorders. It was 2020, Zheng and colleagues, and they did a meta-analysis of studies conducted with children and adolescents. So it might not be transferable to grown-ups as much as these things are transferable at all. We have 1,600 ADHDers and 1,200 control. And This is very difficult to be academic about, which is why we're not. So 75% of us ADHDers have more time perception error than the holistic average. The second number. Pick one random ADHD person and pick one random holistic person. 1 in 3 times the holistic person has a worse perception of time than the ADHDer. This leads both groups of scientists to say you cannot tell an ADHDer by their time perception. This is not conclusive. So what is this video even about at this point? It is about ADHDers having a very big variance in between being very precise and being very imprecise. The question is why? And the answer is, we don't know from this study. Or from this study. Altogether, well, I don't know how many. Wait, is Zheng even a meta-study? Cut this. I don't know. Was it? I don't think so. I hope I didn't say it anywhere. Otherwise, I need to leave this rambling in. So again, why? We don't know. But I myself, part of the community, can think of several things right off the top of my head, which I will now read from there. One possibility it was shamed into you as a child. Second possibility, you got raised better and just learned a good perception. Third, you accidentally were in the right place in the right time to learn by yourself how to have a precise measurement of time. 4, you spend horrendous amount of effort on being on time because you think you have to, or you're regularly told that you have to. So it could be you're on time because you spend 10 times the life effort on being on time, or you're ashamed to it, or you're disciplined, or you genuinely never had a problem with it. Remember, some of the time you're better at it than the holistic average. Maybe even better than holistic overall. I can't tell you because it's gated. So, but all in all, you generally have the ability to be precisely feeling about time. What now? Well, and now we do better. Videos usually look at the study, get to the result, and tell you, see, that's why. And then they get the clicks and move on to the next week. But we do better, so we just keep having a look at it. What do we have? We have weird time experiments and we have some data. And more questions than we started with, to be honest. So what we can say is the stage of science that we are at is we think there might be something worthwhile investigating. We have a guess at how we can find out. Then we do an experiment and then we have data and we see, different. And then we continue to guess how this could be till we know. And we are shortly after the first part, where we see there might be a problem and we try to find out how, or why, or if at all. So the stage of science we're at is simplified guessing. And we learn ADHDers are rarely average. Also, the study design, again, why below seconds? I guess it's easy, but what does this tell you? You can't, okay, I can't really fault someone for experimenting with roughly in the direction because this gives you results where you know, okay, there's a bigger difference or smaller difference, this could be interesting. But what we did learn is our problem is not explained by this. So the meta-analysis is about testing milliseconds to 15 seconds. And I don't know if it's meta-analysis or meta-analyses. And I don't want to look it up. This stuff takes me way too long. I need to get better. Someone playing you a tone or an image is not equating to planning out a Tuesday study session, followed by sport, followed by your commute home, followed by having dinner with your friends, followed by having a wind down. Those go all in one day, right? So this is not the same. So the assumption might have been that you can scale up the results once you find a significant difference, which has not been proven. Also, we learned about variance. And we learned different thing to plan, different result. Which leads me to the assumption that you cannot scale up, because when you scale up to a day, to a week, to a month, to a lifetime. You now expect a different result for each of these, which in and of itself might be a good result for science, because we find this out by doing a below second to 15-second study. And also we don't know if they're all different or if they repeat, and we do not know by which rule they repeat. This could all be part of later studies, or the study scope changes to something else. Also, we know that we can be good at time perception, or even better than holistics sometimes, and much worse some other time, more of the time. The question is why? Also, we do not know from the text available if it is a per person thing or a per situation thing. Are some people always good and some people always bad, or is one person sometimes very good and sometimes very bad? Not from science, but from community perspective, let's treat it as the latter, because I am aware that I'm sometimes super good at keeping time without any effort at all, and sometimes I spend a huge amount of effort to be somewhere on time and it just does not work out, even though I spend so much more effort. Variance, people. And that variance means the same task sometimes feels like 12 minutes and sometimes like 35. And even if you average those two out to 23.5, you will sometimes be late and sometimes you will wait bored in front of the appointment. And if you have 4 things in a row, they all might work out one day, and the next time you plummet into disaster because you were late on the first, which led to late on the second, which led to later on the third. You get it. You're not always 30% late, you're sometimes late and sometimes not. And we do not know the rule, which is Act 3 of the video, doing better. Focus. You're sometimes late and you don't know when. So what do we change? Number 1, stop estimating, start measuring. A shower sometimes feels short and sometimes it feels long, and we need to figure out when, and we need to figure out if it is actually. You cannot outthink your time perception when it changes depending on your state, like are you rested or erratic, or on the situation. Do you like this or do you dislike this? So the first fix is, if we feel different sometimes, we need to know when. So take out the clock, time it, write it down. And then your internal perception changes from showering takes like 13 minutes. Showering takes 30 minutes if I feel well, and it takes 30 minutes, 3 times as long, if I don't want the day to start. So this will then lead to a change in your planning in your head, like I get home later after thing A and I will feel crappy, so it will take 3 times as long. And I want to go to dinner with friends after, so I need to tell them I'll be there 8:30, not 8. Pick a few things that you do regularly, see if this changes something for you, changes something for your perspective, and if it doesn't work, don't bother. Start with things you do constantly, and again, measure them, clock them, write them down, because you will forget, and if it's not worth the bother, then don't. Number 2, plan for the worst one. If you plan by feel and you want to continue to do so, then you should plan for the worst time you take, not the average or the lowest. And then just bring a book or a power bank so you can hang out without being anxious. Number 3. Oh, this is so uncomfortable. Number 3. We go into number 3, break the chain. A disaster is not if one thing goes wrong, it's when several small things go wrong in a row and you keep going. In between important tasks or appointments, plan a break. Right, now double it. Number 4, when to make appointments. If you're outside and you've been exhausted and overstimulated and someone asks you for an appointment, you say, let me get back to you, I go home and check in with my responsibilities and then let you know. Practice. Say this out loud. This is not to make you feel ridiculous, this is to practice how the words feel. And choose some words that you like better than mine. And when the time comes, there will be one less hurdle to saying this out loud. And maybe it takes 2 or 3 times. Number 5, plan your surroundings. So you now know you're different, or you have learned recently or a longer period of time ago. And some things work better for you if you do not do them like holistic people would do them. So if you are always late because you're looking for your keys, plant a bowl by the door and you're not 2 minutes late and don't make the train and get late to the first appointment. And if you have a message from your friend and the message is long and you want to give them the time of day and respond how they deserve, but you kind of don't feel it or you don't know what to say that instead of waiting for weeks. So say, I cannot pass my thoughts to this. Can you break it up into things that are important to you and I will get back to you on each? And then you have replied right away. This is also a good strategy. You can try to do things that you can do now, always now. This has the fallacy that you become a solution machine to your surroundings, so that you always feel pressure to do things right away because you will otherwise forget, and you have to plan times where you do not work. Otherwise, you're just solving one thing after another, and there's always one thing more that someone wants you to solve, which will lead to you burning out at some pace. So if you start doing things right away and things don't end, then plan dead times, like no work after 8, no work Sundays. This is my dead time. This is not entirely on you alone, right? You're good at some things and you're not so good at other things. And you have tried to compensate being good at things that you not necessarily want to be good at or need to be good at. So you restructure and accommodate yourself. And find out which of the people or things you really care about actually have a problem with you being late. So this might be a thing inside your head. And only change the things that you find out need changing. If your friends or the people who are important to you do not care, don't spend extra effort on changing that. Don't change something where the only reason for fixing would be to adhere to an holistic standard, which we now know cannot apply to you. And lastly, do you need to change? This is dependent entirely on if you want to or not. If you change for a situation or for someone who doesn't accommodate you, and you live outside of your own comfort zone entirely, you will burn out at some pace. This does not say that you don't make compromises or change some things for some people. It just means that you balance it out and do these things for people and situations where overall it makes for a fuller life. Meaning to say, you don't run after people or things that always only demand you to change. So the question becomes, is the thing you're trying to be on time or in time for worth it? Or were you taught it is supposed to be worth it, but really to you it is not? And then, if you stop chasing that, will this hurt someone you don't want to hurt? So these are the actual questions. Remember, you're good and can be overly precise in some situations and overly crappy in some others. And you and me hazarding a guess, when you feel easier, it's much better to be precise or in total crisis. And stay for community and science about ADHD and autism.